For the first time in over a decade, the SEC is wide open this year, with A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss all having legit shots to win the conference this year. Starting off with Texas A&M, and the Aggies have put together quite a start to their season, beating Notre Dame in Notre Dame 41-40 right before going into conference play. In conference play so far, they've beat Auburn 16-10, and this is an Auburn team that is good, not great, and in any other conference would be a top contender. And in that Notre Dame game, Marcel Reed, the quarterback for the Aggies, looked really good, throwing for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns, and ultimately leading the Aggies on their game-winning drive to beat Notre Dame. Now, the Aggies could absolutely win out. They have one of the easiest schedules in the SEC, with their only tough matchups really being LSU in LSU and Texas at Texas. And we've all seen how that Texas team is looking. If that's your second hardest matchup of the year, you're in a good spot. This Aggie team is looking good, and Marcel Reed has shown that he can absolutely ball out when he needs to and win games for the Aggies. But what the Aggies have going against them is inconsistent quarterback play. Now, Marcel Reed, he can turn it on and he can look really good. We talked about what he did at Notre Dame. But he's also shown some really bad games. Look at Auburn. He goes 15 for 22 for 200 yards, 1 interception, and negative 23 rushing yards on the game, meaning he took some sacks. Now, with the Aggies' schedule and Marcel Reed playing like he did against Notre Dame, this is a team that will be in the conference championship game. But if he plays like he did against Auburn, they may drop 1 or 2 of those tough games. Now let's talk about another former Big 12 team that could win the SEC this year, and that is Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has looked good this year, with notable wins being a 24-13 win against Michigan and a 24-17 win against Auburn. Now there was some controversy in that game, but Oklahoma did pull it off. They did look good in that game. If Oklahoma continues the season like they've been playing, I see them getting into the conference championship game as well. But there are 2 things going against the Sooners right now. And the first thing is John Mateer being out for a month. Now, if all goes well and the timeline stays the same, he will miss this Kent State game they have this week. He will miss Texas, and he will miss South Carolina coming back for Ole Miss. But will he be the same in that first game back in one of Oklahoma's toughest matchups of the year? That will be seen. And even if Mateer does look just as good as he did, they have a brutal 3-game stretch when he comes back. They have Ole Miss at home, then at Tennessee and at Alabama. And I could realistically see a 100% healthy John Mateer-led Oklahoma drop at least one of those games, maybe 2. But if the Sooners can win at least 2 of those games, then they also have a very good chance of making it to the conference championship game. Now, Ole Miss is an interesting team here because by all accounts, they should not be undefeated and having a really good shot to win the SEC. Yet here they are with a big win over LSU this week to really propel their chances up at winning the SEC. And for SEC standards, they actually have a pretty easy schedule. Their only 2 tough games are at Georgia and at Oklahoma. Those will be games where the Rebs will be tested. But if they can split those 2 games and only have 1 loss at the end of the season, that gives them a really good shot to make it to the conference championship game. And so far in Trinidad Chambliss' 3 games, he's looked really good, throwing for over 1,000 yards this far into the season with 5 touchdowns and only 1 interception. But what I think is the most impressive is that he only has 2 sacks on the year. That means the O-line has blocked well and he is escapable in the pocket and can avoid the sack. But with Trinidad Chambliss comes a lot of inexperience at quarterback. Austin Simmons starts the year, goes 2 games, gets hurt. Trinidad Chambliss comes in. Now he is a D2 transfer to Ole Miss, and he only played in 1 game in the D2 level. This is a quarterback that's only had 4 collegiate starts in his career. And that quarterback inexperience is going to affect Ole Miss. We've seen quarterback decisions that have cost teams games before. Look at Ohio State and Oregon in the regular season last year, when Will Howard slid down thinking there was still time on the clock, and that ended the game. Now, Will Howard had more experience than Trinidad does here, and he still made that mistake. Lack of experience can absolutely cost a team wins, and Ole Miss will have to overcome that lack of quarterback experience if they want to make it to the conference championship game. Now, as much as we all hate to say it, Alabama does have a shot at getting into the conference championship game here. They did drop a game early, a non-conference game to Florida State where they didn't look great, but since then, they have beat up on some teams that put up some offensive numbers. 73-0 over University of Louisiana Monroe. 38 against Wisconsin. And then beating Georgia in Athens. Getting the job done, having the clutch ability. Now, Ty Simpson has looked good at times, throwing for 382 yards, 24 for 29. That is a huge number in the completion percentage. And then 4 touchdowns against this Wisconsin Badgers team. Now, also shown at times that he is more of a game manager. I don't think Ty Simpson is going to go win a game for Alabama. But he has thrown no interceptions on the year, and if you can manage that and you can get the run game going, which Alabama looks like they might have done, you're in a good spot in SEC play. And with Alabama having Jam Miller back at running back, I think that the Crimson Tide are going to rely on the ground game, give Simpson the ball and don't turn it over when they have to, and just control these games. But the case against for Alabama is their schedule. They are going into 3 games of ranked opponents, being Vanderbilt, Mizzou, and Tennessee. Then they get South Carolina before having to go and play LSU and Oklahoma, 2 more ranked teams. And while these are all kind of that mid to late teens rankings here, we have seen Alabama struggle against unranked teams and lesser opponents before in the Kalen DeBoer era. We all saw them lose a game to unranked Vanderbilt last year. They lost to number 11 ranked Tennessee, and they lost to unranked Oklahoma. In the Kalen DeBoer era, this team has shown that they will get beat by teams that they probably underestimated a little bit. And they have a lot of games against good teams that they absolutely could underestimate. So look to see if Kalen DeBoer has flipped that switch and he can win games against teams that he should. For the teams with 1 conference loss in the SEC, we have first the Georgia Bulldogs. Now this Georgia team absolutely could be in the conference championship game. Before last season, I think we all would have said they were probably the favorite to win the SEC this year. But then they go and they lose to Alabama. And that's a game that Kirby Smart has to have if he wants a chance to win this conference. Now the season isn't over for the Dogs yet. They do have a fairly easy schedule, with their only tough games being at Auburn and then hosting Ole Miss in the next week. And that's a very favorable schedule for a team that is very, very good. And this Georgia team might be the best Georgia team we've seen over the last couple of years. They have a Georgia defense, a very, very good Georgia defense, but they also have a capable offense this year. We all know that Stetson Bennett was a game manager. He was someone you give the ball to, tell him not to turn it over, and let the defense do their thing. And Carson Beck just never looked good at Georgia. He was supposed to be their new quarterback that was going to put the offense together and just was never that. But Gunnar Stockton has looked better than Carson Beck and Stetson Bennett. I still don't think he's a top quarterback in the SEC, but he's looked better. They have a better offense now than they did with those 2 quarterbacks. Now, the case against for Georgia is Kirby Smart, the same guy that's gotten them to where they are. And he has shown that he may not be able to win the big game. He definitely cannot beat Alabama. We've seen that play out time and time again. But he's also struggled against teams that he should beat easy. Look at Georgia Tech last year. That game had no business going into overtime, and yet the Yellow Jackets almost pulled off the upset. They also lost to number 3 ranked Ole Miss last year, and I think that Georgia team was a little bit better than that Ole Miss team, and struggled against Kentucky early in the season. Kirby Smart, while he has gotten Georgia very, very good and has won a national championship with them, has a tendency to overlook opponents he shouldn't overlook and not be able to win the big game. And then we have Tennessee, a team that a lot of people wrote off when Nico left and they got Joey Aguilar. But early on, Joey Aguilar looked really good. He looked like a huge upgrade at quarterback for the Vols. And after their first 2 games, after Joey Aguilar just started balling out, I thought that they would be the team to beat in the SEC. But then they lose 44-41 to Georgia at home, making their path to the conference championship game a lot tougher than it needed to be. Tennessee will have to win out, and they have some tough games coming up. They have the 3rd Saturday in October at Bryant-Denny. They have Oklahoma that they have to beat, with John Mateer should be back. But outside of those 2 games, they have a pretty easy schedule. So it is entirely possible for the Vols to win those 2 games, win their schedule, and get into the conference championship game with 1 loss. But where I think Tennessee may struggle, the case against them is that Josh Heupel will sometimes make decisions that are a little bit too safe and a little bit too conservative that end up biting him at the end of the game. Look at the Georgia game. Tennessee gets a turnover. They have the ball in their own territory, in field goal range. A touchdown would have been the dagger. A touchdown would have put Georgia away, and instead they run the ball 3 times, kick a field goal, Georgia comes back and wins. I think that Josh Heupel is going to have to start coaching games to win instead of coaching games not to lose. Lots of parity and lots of teams that can go on to win the SEC championship game. Let me know in the comments who you think will be in the conference championship game at the end of the season in the SEC. And if you like college football, make sure to subscribe and like so the algorithm pushes these videos to you.